It's the Alien Conspiracy Podcast. We are your hosts, Agent ETA,
Agent Kruger,
and Agent Anderson. Come along as we examine UFO sightings, conspiracies, and all things strange. You can follow the show on Twitter at AlienConPod. We also have an email address, alienconpod@protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out our Facebook page. All right, this week's episode, Operation Paperclip. This is a good one, guys.
Yes, this is an endless rabbit hole that you could go on forever about. And it's, there's a lot of stuff that went on that benefited both nations that were involved mainly, which was the Soviet Union and United States. But we're probably going to focus mostly on, obviously, we're calling it Operation Paperclip, so we're going to focus on the United States side of things. So there's some benefits that we got from this, but also at what cost, I guess you could say. You know,
more like Operation Der Wiener Schnitzel.
Just drive up to the window, put a wiener in your face, right? Or a hot dog,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. Russia's version of Operation Paperclip is called Operation Osavia.
Yeah.
Osaka V. Osaka V. No,
you deserve a medal. You deserve a medal for trying that one.
VIAKHIM. Osakvikem. I give up.
That they took like 2,200 like Germans, right? They
yeah, they supposedly took a good deal more people, but there's stories about the conditions that those people also had to go through too.
Right.
But some of them were also war criminals. So,
but the smart ones knew they would rather surrender on a nice slice of American pie. You know what I mean? Rather than a nice Russian gulag.
Yeah. There were some people swept up by this operation that had supposedly committed some great atrocities, to the human race, basically, and the fact that they kind of, you could say, just got away with it, really. Like, I think one of the big questions I kept on hearing from people over and over again, or, whether it be a documentary that I watched or article that I read or whatever, people, just keep on asking over and over again, where's the retribution for some of these people, because of what they had committed, and that's, one of the big questions, I guess, that overarches over this case. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's start at the beginning. So I don't think we said what it actually was. For anybody unfamiliar with Operation Paperclip, this was a United States effort to basically nab a bunch of scientists and engineers and people like that from Nazi Germany. And the idea was, I guess Germany was ahead of everybody else on their war machines. And it was motivated basically by us not wanting them to go to other places, like either places like Spain or Egypt that were sort of aligned with the Nazis or at least sympathizers with them, or for them to go to like Russia and help out the Russians. Basically, we didn't want anybody else getting their hands on any of this sciencey goodness. We wanted it to work for us and our war machines instead. And if you look at some of the conditions that these people we got from Germany, they weren't really taken seriously at first. It seemed like they were but even Wernher von Braun, who I'm sure we'll talk about later, he wasn't really given a whole lot to do at first. So it kind of reinforces the idea that we weren't so much concerned with getting the stuff for ourselves as, obviously that was a goal, but we were more concerned to keep these people and their knowledge out of other countries' hands rather than get it for ourselves. It seems like was maybe the primary concern. But it originally began as Operation Overcast, and then it was later named, a couple years later, to Operation Paperclip. The origin story for this, at least for the people that they got for it, is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was pretty good. So it begins with something called the Ozenberg List. Germany they were kind of getting their asses kicked in the early 40s, and by 1943, they decided to call back thousands and thousands of scientists and engineers from their combat duty. They had all these people who were capable, like PhDs and whatnot, physicists and whoever. They were fighting on the front lines and getting killed every day. But at some point they said, all right, we need to bring these people back and have them come up with, you know, nastier surprises to help us win the war, basically was the idea. So a dude named Werner Olsenberg, the head of the Defense Research Association, he made a list of all the people that he wanted to be recalled that he thought would be useful, and they also profiled them based on how loyal they would be to the party and stuff like that. So this was going on in, you know, about 1943 is when this all started. In 1945, a Polish laboratory technician found the list torn up in a toilet, and he took the list and gave it to MI6, who then forwarded it to U.S. intelligence. And I'm just trying to imagine what would drive a person working in a, you know, in a lab. You see some torn up papers in a toilet and you're like, oh yeah, I definitely want to fish that out. That's got to be important. You know, if somebody's using it to wipe their ass, it's, I got to get my hands on that.
There's got to be some good info behind those brown streaks.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. They ate the knowledge and then left it on the piece of paper.
So anyways, this was like a really lucky find because it gave us a list of all the knowledgeable, probably not every scientist in the country, but probably the top people. It was just like a cheat sheet. It was like the Cliff's Notes to here are all the people who know anything about anything, you know, so it saved us a lot of time, which is, it's kind of like a cheat code, you know? So we have this list here of who we need to go nab. And this list was used as the basis of our list of made by U.S. Army Major Staver. He made a list of the Germans that we wanted to go get and capture and interrogate. And at first, I'm not sure that at first they really planned to ship them back here to the United States. They were more interested in just capturing them and seeing what they knew. But as they interrogated them and they realized how much knowledge they had, they wanted to hold on to them maybe long term, because after we release them, what's from stopping them from being captured by, you know, the Soviets or somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Werner von Braun, by the way, was the #1 target on this list, apparently. He's a very important dude in Germany. Like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about him later. But he was the guy who developed the rocketry program for Germany, and he developed the V2, among other things. And if you know anything about World War II, you definitely know something about the V2 rocket. I don't think we really need to go into too much detail on that one.
I mean, all that needs to be said is that rocket terrorized the English people for some time in World War II, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a horrible weapon.
It was definitely a curse, not a blessing as we see it nowadays.
And just
even a blessing in any way.
To us, it might seem like a very primitive weapon, but for the time, it was incredibly advanced. And just to give you an idea, I believe the V2 rocket was the first man-made object to ever go into space. So we're talking about going from, you know, from fairly primitive weapons from World War I, airplanes that were so bad that like the average life expectancy was like a week or two for pilots or something like that, to having this rocket that can launch into space. It's just a pretty incredible leap forward. And they didn't have really good targeting technology for it, which they were developing, but they didn't have it yet. If they had developed that, then who knows what would have happened in the war. But luckily they didn't. They were fairly stupid rockets, but they were still leaps and bounds ahead of what else we had to fight with at the time.
Yeah, their rocket program was definitely more advanced than ours or
20 years ahead, if I'm not mistaken. Like we were definitely behind.
Yeah.
And
no doubt about that.
They had other stuff they did too, like they were experimenting with putting rockets on fighter planes, but they didn't work that good because they were so much faster than the regular propeller-driven airplanes that they didn't have they shot by them so quickly that they couldn't really draw a bead on them very easily. And controlling the speed of them was difficult, and landing and taking off, all that stuff was fairly difficult. So they weren't really a decisive technology in the war, but, you know, it wouldn't be too much longer until they would be.
Yeah, and you know, there's actually one bullet that the world, I guess, potentially dodged during the situation too, which was their nuclear program. And their nuclear program wasn't as advanced as it was feared to have been, you know, from the Allies and stuff. You know, after the war, they found this out.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, their attention was drawn into different places. They had the ability to carry a payload long distances. If they had fused, you know, their V2 rockets with the, you know, a hydrogen bomb, you know what I mean, or an atomic bomb, we'd be in huge trouble. I mean,
oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, we didn't, when we bombed Japan, we didn't do it with a long range rocket like the V2. We did it with just a regular old airplane, just a bomber. So yeah, you had to actually fly above the city back then to bomb it.
Yeah, you were still putting people at risk that are trying to throw that bomb over there. And then now if you had the ability to send it on a V2 rocket, I mean, you're talking, primitive, ICBM missiles. So
Right, yeah, pretty much. All right, so they went after, a lot of the scientists they went after were from the rocketry program. So, Werner von Braun and his team. But they also were targeting other important technologies, stuff like infrared and things like that they believed would help them against the Japanese. Because remember, Germany surrendered, I think, in 1945, but after that, Japan, we were still fighting them. They did not surrender at the same time. So we wanted something else that we could use against the Japanese to make the war effort a little easier. And the numbers I found that was overall in Operation Paperclip, they were able to capture, kidnap, or convince about 1,800 people and 3,700 family members, give or take, in this program. They some of them they put in different third world countries, and actually looked up what that means. Third world country, I never knew what that meant. So first world would be like the United States and its allies, essentially. Second world would be the Soviet Union and their allies. And then the third world would be countries that are more or less neutral, right? That are not either one of those axis of powers. I think that's what that meant. So in this context, it's not really used like that anymore. Third world generally means underdeveloped or undeveloped countries. But anyways, they took a lot of these people and they didn't necessarily bring them all to the United States, or at least not all right away. They would put them in like neutral locations and keep an eye on them and wouldn't let them leave. It was sort of like a house arrest, but maybe for like a local area instead of just a house. But a lot of them did come to America to work. And the ones that came here, they were stationed in places the very famous places that you probably have heard of on this show before, even like the White Sands Proving Grounds in New Mexico, the Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, and even like a chemical plant in Louisiana. They actually got around quite a lot to various government agencies. And the number 1,800 seems like a lot, but between 1945 and 1952, the USA only brought in 260 men, and 36 of those eventually went back to Germany. So that number seems kind of small, just 260. So I'm guessing a lot of those other ones were sort of kept under wraps, maybe kept in prisons and just interrogated for years, or who knows what. It's hard to find specific records. You'd probably really have to dig through some declassified documents to find that stuff. The information may be out there, but I was not able to find it for this episode. And another one that's kind of fun is good old Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which was the home of Project Blue Book for a number of years, was host to 86 Project Operation Paperclip personnel. So it kind of makes your imagination go wild and think, well, maybe they were working on like Die Glocke type stuff there or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they were sent to Wright-Patterson specifically because that's where they were keeping German aircraft that had been captured. German aircraft and other technology that had been captured under Operation Lusty. And Lusty actually doesn't mean like, horny. It's something like like Luftwaffe or something.
Hey, quick question. De Glocke or como se dice en inglés?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that bell, like the supposed like bell that like levitated or something like that they had?
Yeah, Die Glocke is the bell. I haven't looked into it too much.
It was like a bell-shaped craft or something.
Yeah, either the bell or the propulsion technology that is what propels,
it's supposed to be like some kind of
saucer.
anti-gravity propulsion or something, right?
Yeah, from what I gather, there isn't the evidence for the Glocke being an actual thing that could have done something. It doesn't seem to be that great. It's mostly, it seems pretty flimsy, but I don't know, maybe it could be a topic for another episode.
We covered this. No, we covered this. It was two Germans hopped in it, remember? And then they got sent back in time, or forward in time.
Yeah.
And then they were jettisoned into Kecksburg.
Yeah, so, that's right. Kecksburg incident.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
They brought us Der Wiener Schnitzel. That's how we...
Yeah.
Oh, thank God for those chili cheese dogs, especially with
Hell
the
yeah.
pretzel buns. Especially with the pretzel buns. I mean, come on,
Don't be sleeping on the kraut dog.
Well,
Oh, those are good. Das ist sehr gut, yeah.
I love pretzel buns. They're great on hamburgers, hot dogs, they're anything. I love them. They're delicious. But nobody else likes them, so I can never get them, unfortunately.
Oh, this thing's great.
All right.
Right.
Hey, next time we have a barbecue, dude, we're all about the pretzel buns.
Right? Should put a spin on the 4th of July this year.
Yeah. All right. So back to Operation Paperclip. It went on.
Paperclip. It's party time. Excellent. Excellent.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Before you get into the next spiel, I apologize. But did we talk about how, like, wasn't Paperclip the aforementioned name due to, or I'm not saying that correctly, but Paperclip was basically made from how many fucking paper clips they had to use, or like how many of the dossier, like a lot of the profiles that they had on these guys, like all the paper clips that was assigned to these specific scientists. That I don't know, I forgot. I thought it like
Well, when processing the files of these individuals after World War II in the Europe amphitheater was over, from what I understand, when like the intelligence agencies were processing some of these files and considering them for retention, I guess you could say, they would put a paperclip in a specific spot to mark it as, being like, yeah, this is somebody that's of high value,
right, yeah, there we go.
From what I understand.
That's it, right?
Yeah, that's what I found as well. That it was, and they stopped doing that. I forget exactly what the year was, but it used to be that if you had an operation something, they would call the operation based on what it was doing. So if the operation was to destroy submarines, it might be called Operation Submersive Destruction, or whatever. But at some point they realized that was kind of stupid because
It sounds like a Steven Seagal movie.
Yeah.
One that he made later in his career,
For intelligence reasons, if the enemy found out about a project, Project Paperclip Gun, making a gun out of paper clips, they would know exactly what you're up to. So then at some point they started assigning random names to the operations. I don't know exactly when that happened, but I read that was a thing. That's why, more recent operations don't seem to have as cool names, because it's just sort of like random names that they just get from who knows where. They probably just have a book, they open it, and then they stick their finger down, and that's the word they use,
Imagine like a project where like they have an AI that comes up with like a random name, right? And like imagine like they come up with like a fucked up name or something like that, like Project Poopy Ballsack or something. You know what I mean? And like the agent's like, God damn it, man! You kidding me? Like, we got to go with this. Do we really have to go with this? Can we hit the regenerate button or whatever? Like, do over? Can we have a mulligan?
All right. I'm looking up a random word generator, and we're gonna make our own project names right here. Okay.
Oh, hell yeah!
So let's do a two word project name. Word type all. First, leave that blank. Okay. Generate random words. Let's see what we got. Okay. I got
like it.
Operation Apology Pocket.
Okay, all right.
That could be anything. I love it.
I have pocket sand.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, the imagination goes wild, right?
It could be something just as simple as somebody giving like a hot pocket to somebody, like, as apology for something they said or did,
Yeah.
Yeah, hot pocket for you. Here you go. I got your favorite kind. Look, it has a flaky crust and stuff,
And I love Jim Gaffigan, by the way, because he's not my favorite comic, but I can actually put his stuff on in front of the kids. It's pretty tame. So that's nice.
Jim
That's
Gaffigan.
Nice.
That's funny.
Well, and if he does get dirty with it, it's most likely like they're young enough to where they're probably not going to understand,
Yeah, it's not like Dave Chappelle or something where
Very subtle,
where they're doing like what was that, like the Fear Factor, and they're pretending to eat like sausages that are actually like dicks or something. Like you're never going to see that with Jim Gaffigan, right?
No.
All right. Let's do maybe one more. How many words should I do for this one? Two works, I think, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
All right, let's do two more. Just see what we get. All right. Live on the air. Oh, this one. I think this one actually. This one's too specific. It's Operation Core Habitat. That actually sounds like something like your.
That could definitely be something, man. Now that could be something like you might be trying to set up like a something like on Mars or something. You know, they're
Right,
trying
yeah.
to like build. You know, like
That's what I was
a core
thinking.
habitat on Mars.
I
Yeah.
say do one more.
One more?
Just
Alright,
for the
alright.
hell of it.
One more.
Yeah, I'm liking this. Now, and the 2-word thing is working real great too, because it sounds more like appropriate. I think. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. One more for Agent Kruger. Okay. Operation Prey Glacier.
Prey Glacier.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like,
Prey Glacier.
it could be like a.
That reminds me of
freeze
like
ray?
that one like was it the very first X-Files episode where they found like a bacteria like in the Antarctica or something like that?
I don't know if that was the first episode. I know what you're talking about, though. It was basically kind of like a ripoff of John Carpenter's The Thing, kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah, that's right.
or a lot. I don't know. But yeah.
there's a predator, an ancient predator, frozen in a glacier, and government scanners have detected it within the glacier, and they've detected its a great prowess and power. You know,
Oh,
and
it's
they're afraid of it reanimating. You know what I mean?
They could have done that with a modern day predator, and that would have been the way better like explanation as to why the hell that thing. Never mind. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Oh,
I'm
it's-
gonna take it
whatever.
somewhere
It's-
it doesn't need to be.
it's PRAY. It's pray, like as in like
Oh.
I'm praying, not PREY, but
Oh,
pray.
whatever.
Actually,
Whatever, dude.
PREY is. I like that better. Actually, Prey Glacier is better. Prey Glacier, PRAY. That's. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that one. All right. Well, anyways, let's. That's enough random for now, I guess. Let's get back to it. All right, where were we?
Paperclip, baby, party time. Hey, it's excellent.
Yeah. One of the things that, for me, that makes this one so interesting, I guess maybe it's not as interesting for the show because there's nothing really controversial about it. It happened. We know it happened. And that's it. There's no mystery or whatever. But that's kind of what makes it interesting, too, is this is a 100% real and true conspiracy. Like, there's no disputing it.
Very, very well documented.
Yeah, incredibly well. There's no disputing whatsoever that it happened. And it's, just next time somebody says that conspiracies are not real, just bring up Operation Paperclip. You'd be like, well, what about Operation Paperclip?
Yeah,
Well,
what about that though?
yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Mr. Skeptical.
Mhm.
Okay, here we were. So it went, I was really surprised to know this, but Operation Paperclip was actually a thing until about 1990. And by then, I guess
Really?
they kept bringing in people throughout the years, and they brought in the last people in 1990. And by that time, 1,600 men total had been imported to the United States. So that includes like the people who were kept abroad. But like by that time, we had gotten that many total. And it was so apparently this was part of the intellectual reparations owed to the United States and United Kingdoms. And the intellectual reparations that were, for Germany being dicks during the war, basically, reparations, they were valued at $10 billion. That's about $150 billion in today's money. I looked it up. According to the interwebs, the internet told me that that's $150 billion in today's money. And
That's a lot.
I don't know how they arrived at this figure or how valuable each individual person was, but the takeaway here that I kind of made me do a double take was that yes, in case you weren't paying attention, actual living people were used to pay reparations to the United States as recently as 1990. Just wrap
That's
your head
kinda
around
crazy. That is kind of crazy.
that. It's just let me say that again in case you missed it. They used scientists from Germany as recently as 1990 to repay reparations. Not money, but actual people. It's crazy. I did not know that before. This is one of the most interesting details that I found while looking into this case for this one. Oh, give me a second. I need a drink of water. Edit.
All right, I gotta take a piss. Real bad. I gotta take a piss. I'll be
All right.
back.
Got some dry mouth there.
Some dry mouth. It's the worst mouth.
Yeah. This one might be a little on the shorter side. I don't know, but whatever.
I could see it being that, but it's still interesting as hell. Like, I've been, what's a good show to watch in correlation with this is, oh God, it's Hunter X, I believe it's called. Why did I do this? but it's specifically about hunting Nazis and specifically Germans that came over from Operation Paperclip, and that some of them are actually still like inciting the new Reich, the Fourth Reich instead. So it's really a good watch, but it's kind of over the top, but it's if you're in the mood for it kind of thing. And it's like it was based off a comic, but I gotta look it up now.
I've been watching a lot of Robot Wars lately.
Oh, Robot Wars.
Good, simple fun, man. Robots smashing the crap out of each other. What more do you want out of life, really?
Yeah, you can't ask for more.
Were you just talking about robots smashing the crap out of each other?
Yeah, I was saying
Yes, sir.
I've been watching Robot Wars lately.
Oh, nice.
It's
with Kenny Florin.
Well, no, that's the United States one. I've been watching the English version because the United States one, in order to get that one, I have to subscribe to like some $70 a month streaming service or television channel or something. I'm like,
yeah, hell no.
I do want to see Kenny Florian talking about robots smashing each other, but I ain't paying $70 a month to do it. So whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
Yeah, although I gotta say, when I found out Kenny Florian was doing that show, I was pretty excited. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I want to watch that.
I would have never thought about it, but it makes perfect sense for some reason.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know why, but
the guy who does the commentating for the UK show, I think his name's Jonathan Pierce. He's like a really over-the-top sports commentator guy, and he just gets really silly with it, but like in a fun way. So he does a really good job with the UK version is really good. And it's the host is Craig Charles. He's pretty famous over there in England. If you've seen it like Red Dwarf or something like that, you might know who he is, but he's probably not real huge in the United States.
The only 3 British hosts that I am willing to accept, in all honesty, is either Jeremy Clarkson, James May, or what was the other guy? Who's the third guy on Top Gear?
So basically, everyone from Top Gear. Or...
Yeah. The 3 guys. The 3 guys from Top Gear. You know what I mean? I will only accept them.
All right. Well, you might accept some of the pit reporters from Robot Wars because they're pretty easy on the eyes. They pick some nice ladies to do that job.
Well, that's a horse of a different color right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's get back to it. Where was I?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let me do the intro again. Never mind.
All right. No.
Operation Paperclip, baby, party time. Excellent.
I wish I had like a little guitar lick ready to go, but I don't. Yeah. There might be one on one of those buttons, but I don't want to risk it. All right, let's see. Where was I? Oh yeah. Next I was going to talk about some of the people that came over, just what they got up to once they were here. They were a lot of them were very successful working in the United States. For example, go ahead.
A good majority of them got American citizenship. So I mean, they basically just got forgiven for whatever they did during the war. Which some of that stuff, like we had alluded to earlier, was very atrocious. Especially some of the more atrocious stories that really are going to make you. Give you goosebumps and really make you kind of disgusted at the very least are the medical doctors. Some of the experiments that they did in the medical field, and some of those, some of the worst ones, weren't in Project Blue Book. I mean, Blue Book, God damn it. Paperclip. Shut up already. Anyways, Operation Paperclip. But some of their assistants and people that were right there alongside of them, helping the whole process going along were in Operation Paperclip, and some of them were. I mean, all right. So one of the people that I think who is one of the worst offenders is what is it, Otto Ambrose? I think was his name.
Oh yeah. I know. I wrote some notes about him. Yeah, but before we get to,
am I getting off topic here? I just derailed the whole thing, didn't I?
No. Let's get to him in just a minute. I just wanted to talk about like general stuff. So, just for example, four of the people from Operation Paperclip were awarded the NASA Distinguished Service Medal in 1969. And a lot of them became leaders in their fields, like Eberhard Friedrich Michael Rees, who became the second director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. And another guy, there's a lot of these guys who achieved very high success. I just pulled a couple of them at random. Another one, Siegfried Niemeyer, was awarded the Department of Defense Distinguished Civilian Service Award, and that's the highest award that they give to civilians. So these people were respected by the government, right? And then, like you're talking about people with human experimentation. Well, for example, one guy named Walter Schreiber was linked to human experiments after he was imported to America, and I think in the early 50s, like right after he came here, a newspaper exposed him as basically being a Nazi war criminal who had done really nasty stuff. And wouldn't you know it, the U.S. military helped to relocate him to Argentina because, you can't have those Nazis paying for what they did. It's crazy.
There was multiple of them that did that. That were experimenters on human, like just doing atrocious things to humans, and they just seamlessly seemed to just get away with it. Not entirely, but it's, you know what I mean. Like
some of the more atrocious things also was like some of the experimentation they did with like biological weapons with that program.
Or twins, yeah, or like hell, they were using the effects of hypothermia. They would sit in prisoners, POWs, in cold water to see how long they would last, just so they can figure out how they can warm their bodies better, just in colder climates. They just, if they had a question for it, they had guinea pigs. Sorry,
and it's needless too, because the answer, of course, is put on more jackets, you dumbass. You don't need,
Yeah, right. And have Hugo Boss make you more coats. Come on.
Yeah, do whatever you can to protect internal temperature.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about those awards real quick. Did you want to say some stuff about Otto Ambrose? Because I have some notes on him.
Man, that motherfucking Otto Ambrose, dude. No, I kind of just wanted to mention him because he was one of those people that. All right, so one of the things that kind of really, I guess you could say to grab a quote from Family Guy, it really ground my gears. You know what I mean?
Grinded your gears.
This guy was actually, from what I understood, he was convicted of war crimes of what was it exactly? I forget exactly. There's two main things that he was convicted of, but he was basically just completely relieved of his responsibility for those atrocities, like he didn't pay any repercussions. And one of the things that all right, so after the war, before the war, when he was working for Hitler and the Third Reich, he actually had been somebody that was of great importance to Hitler, great importance indeed, because he actually invented synthetic rubber.
Right.
And that was a huge boost to the war effort because they were definitely running out of that particular type of resource, so.
It may not seem like a big deal, but yeah, it's
a huge deal.
He was one of Hitler's favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. He had, he was up there on the top of the heap, because he had done a lot of good for the effort, and so he was a very, very important person. And also, he was given many different rewards for some of his, discoveries or progressions that he had made. One of them for that for the synthetic rubber, he had been given a 1 million Reichmark reward or something like that. And after the war, when Germany fell, his financial, all his financial, his bank accounts and everything were frozen. But once he got absorbed into Operation Paperclip, shortly thereafter, they released his, he gave him back all of his money, which, would also free up that 1 million Reichmark reward that he had gotten for, contributing to the war effort for the Germans,
Yeah.
So I find that kind of one of those things where, it wasn't, he also, was, one of the other things also, he had a concentration camp, a slave labor camp that was near Auschwitz, where he drew from that camp to produce synthetic rubber.
Oh yeah, did we forget to mention that he was in charge of a concentration camp?
No, yeah. He was also in charge of a concentration camp. Yeah, and there's countless stories of atrocities and just barbaric things that happened there. Obviously, everybody knows the name Auschwitz. You know what I mean? That's probably the most legendary concentration camp. Within the German realm, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe because it's the easiest to pronounce. I'm not sure, but
Possibly.
they were all bad.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah. But this guy's a bad dude. And not only was he given back control of his all of his finances, after he had also been given I think he was given citizenship in this country as well, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been one of the ones, he was one, if I'm not mistaken, I actually think he was one of those particular individuals after the war, right after they called the hot potato, where they couldn't necessarily get him right back to the United States. They had to move him somewhere else first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think.
From what I found, he didn't necessarily stay in the United States.
At any rate, that dude was, responsible for all kinds of atrocities and the past he was given, I don't know. In my opinion, it's unacceptable.
It should be left up to the victims. Yeah.
You got to pay for some of this shit, dude. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, not if you're a top chemist.
Right? Yeah. Well, all right. So I understand.
I'm sorry, this is terrible, but if that's not an example of stay in school, try to, it's honestly, it's education pays.
And you too can get away with genocide.
It sucks. That's it's terrible.
Yeah.
Elon Musk can do whatever the hell he wants, and then the aliens will take him, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, I totally understand the pressure, for our government to absorb these scientists. So at least because obviously the Cold War started before the end of World War II. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As things progressed and the war progressed, the outcome was obvious at a certain point. To each side, so I'm sure they had plans starting, before they and during that point, to absorb what they, the spoils of war, I guess you could say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised at all that this happened, especially at the end of a war like World War II. You know what I mean? There were so many technological advancements during that war. It's amazing, actually. There's a lot of death and destruction and suffering because of it. There's no doubt about that. But holy crap! There's so many technological advances, even just in something simple as an MRE. You know what I mean? Some the food packaging capabilities, advancements that happened during that time period. It's even things just as simple as that. But I digress. Anyways, it's understandable that there was that pressure between the two big powers at that time, because it was obvious that the Soviet Union wanted to obtain and gain more power control, and they were absorbing land. Obviously, right after World War II, they, gobbled up a bunch of land in Western Europe, obviously, so, but like I said, I understand the pressure for wanting the technical capabilities, and also improving your own, obviously, but damn, some of these people I think should have paid for what they did, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it leaves me frustrated. There's no doubt about that.
It leaves us from the outside, feeling that way. Can you only imagine being an actual, being a family of a victim, or,
I couldn't imagine
feeling of the lack of, I'm sure they've all, every family deals with their sorrow their own way. And I'm sure they've triumphed and overcome in a lot of ways and persevered through the atrocities of, another race. But it's crazy. My heart goes out to them. That just really, it sucks. I can't speak from experience there, but that's just terrible. That pisses me off, and you can only imagine.
There were survivors of some of these experiments that testified during the Nuremberg trials.
Oh yeah. They got their day in court, which is great, right? But there's
but not everybody paid.
What about the millions of others? Yeah.
There was the most recent one I read about was in 1995. I forget the details, but somebody was naming some part of a school after Werner von Braun, and a survivor was testifying, saying, "Hey, this guy, you don't want to be naming schools after this guy. Please don't." And eventually, they named it something else. But I mean, there are survivors, and imagine, you went through this hell, and then you got to look at this guy on the newspaper or the TV, in charge of the rocket program. We haven't gotten to him yet, though. But from what I could find for Otto Ambrose, I don't think he was necessarily in the United States. I think he came and went a little bit, but he wasn't necessarily permanently here. But he was involved with a lot of different stuff. Like he worked with, Dow Chemical as an advisor, and he worked with the U.S. Army Chemical Corps and stuff like that. So he was definitely in the mix, and he definitely did get off scot-free. He was granted complete clemency from his crimes in 1951, just because he's good at chemistry. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, from what I understand, he had been convicted in the Nuremberg trials, right?
Yeah,
I thought I was thinking about the same person. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a couple different trials. I don't remember specifically which trial it was. I didn't take notes on that, but he was convicted. Yeah, he was straight up convicted.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, not everybody was convicted.
Yeah.
Right, they were just suspected, but it couldn't be proved, kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, a lot of them weren't even put on trial. If they're just swooped up and swept under the rug. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, well, and like I mentioned with that other guy, that's why I wanted to bring up that one example of they just shipped him off to Argentina just to get him out of the public limelight. But like they had zero concern about justice of any kind. That was not even on their radar at all, unfortunately.
Well, all they were concerned about was what can they benefit from this individual,
Yeah.
That's all they're thinking about,
Yeah. But
feelings be damned at that point.
Yeah. We mentioned him a couple times already, but probably the biggest name attached to Operation Paperclip would be Werner von Braun.
Oh, by far the biggest. It's got to be, right?
His full name was apparently Werner Magnus Maximilian Freiherr von Braun, and with a name like that, he's got to be a massive asshole, right?
Dude, yeah. There are legends about his his pridefulness. And his ego. Like when he was captured, they gave themselves up, and as a matter of fact, from what I understand, Werner von Braun and his the people he was with, they were waiting for the Americans in particular because they obviously knew that they would be treated better, or they assumed, and they afterwards, I remember hearing a quote from him. He said, "We knew that we wanted to surrender to the Americans." Because we had what they didn't have, the V2 rocket technology.
Oh, yeah. I remember this. Sorry, we had it and they didn't. It was that simple.
Yeah. So, it's in their stories of him, basically acting like he thought he was like a celebrity of sorts.
But doesn't that echo though? Doesn't that history just echoes to present day for me? Because I mean, in my opinion, I should say, when it comes to nuclear weapons, it's who's in power is who has the greatest arsenal. It feels like in this day and age, and I mean now that we have it and they don't, it's pretty clear cut. What it sucks that the decision that was made, but it's put us the knowledge that these people had. It's just fascinating as to where they could have acquired that. I mean, it was just it's just amazing. Very. I don't justify it or whatever, and if anything, letting him live to do what he has done is create not just him, but for other situations, other people that, there's a lot of necessary evils that we put up with that, maybe we didn't need, maybe the world was better off without it.
Well, and that's the thing that kind of boggles my mind is it's not like we didn't have scientists. In fact, it's been said that if Werner von Braun was in charge of the parts of the space race, like developing the propulsion systems, essentially, and if because he was overly cautious, he slowed the program down because he wanted to do more tests and be more cautious and make extra sure. Because of that, supposedly, that's why the Soviets got people into space first. It's not something that's well advertised in the United States history books, but the first man in space was actually Russian, not American. And that's probably because of Wernher von Braun. If he hadn't been on the program, there's a good chance that it would have been American, at least a much better chance than, than it not happening at all. But that's the thing, is like, was this guy a smart dude? Yeah, but he wasn't the only guy on the planet who could develop rockets,
And the Soviets won twice in a row with Sputnik, which was the first satellite, right?
Yeah.
And then also being the first country to put people in space,
Yeah.
And that's two big wins right there, two huge wins, which is
correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry to cut you. Like, Russia's also been ahead in other facets. Like, they've been supposedly the first to launch a unmanned drone into Jupiter, right? Or was it? It was a gas station. I could be completely shoving my foot in my mouth right now, because like from what I've seen in the past was that they had a one-shot drone that took one photo, basically, or a few photos before corroding out because they shot it onto the surface of either Jupiter or... Correct me wrong. Edit all this out, please.
You are wrong. Jupiter doesn't have a surface.
Not Jupiter, sorry. Yeah, no, it's a gaseous planet. I'm trying to, Saturn? No.
Saturn doesn't have a surface either.
You never
Venus?
know, man.
As far as we know.
Venus?
Yeah. Venus, probably
You're
Venus,
editing
yeah.
that out.
Probably Venus.
You're editing that out.
No, I'm leaving that in.
No, please, no.
Yeah, but so anyway, for anybody unfamiliar with Wernher von Braun, I think we mentioned he was in charge of the V2 rocket program, and he developed rockets for Germany. I think we already said that. But
yeah, we talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, when he was in the United States, he did a lot of stuff here as well. Like, he developed the rocket that launched the first United States satellite, which, he also designed the Redstone rocket that launched the first live nuclear ballistic missile test. He was behind the Saturn rocket program, which, that's like going to the moon and all that stuff. He launched Alan Shepard into space, who's the first American into space. It can't really be understated, his contributions to the American space program. But on the other hand, would we have still achieved those things if we didn't have him? I can't really answer that. You'd probably have to ask somebody who was there, but I don't know. I think that we had plenty of people here already that could have done that stuff. Maybe we would have been a little bit behind, but we would have caught up. I don't know. Was he really that much smarter than everybody else? It's hard to say.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. But
by the way, the surface I was looking for was on Venus.
Okay.
I am not too illiterate with that, but they did. I'll post it right now in the Discord, but
that none of you can see because you're not invited. Ha. All right.
Tell them the name of the channel, though.
Yeah. Can they come in if they know the name of the channel?
If they have Discords, yeah, of course.
Okay. The name of the channel is.
Actually, I want to pump the brakes. Actually,
probably not a good idea.
What? Yeah. Well, I was going to say the channel's name is #General. That's our channel.
No. I was going to say you actually have to give them a formal invite, but you can post that on one of your socials, and they can just click on it.
All right.
Fact of the matter, I meant to do this earlier, but I could just make our Reddit page and whatnot, and then have it set to have a actual invite in the description and stuff like that.
That could be cool. First, I'd want to see if I could clear out some of these highly inappropriate GIFs.
That's exactly. Well, you can keep some channels. So the thing about Discord,
I think we
is that you can
start a new one.
Yeah,
you can have it so that if you want to have it just the three of us have access to a certain channel, that's how it is.
No.
And you'll see
some of them aren't bad. Like here, for example, you got the Stockton slap, and then under that you got an infinitely looping Hulk Hogan thing. That's, I don't know, they're not all bad, but there's some inappropriate stuff in here for sure.
I just want to point out, you can make roles. I mean, hell, I would think making Agent Kruger one of the High Chief Director Agent, I don't know, whatever the hell that says. Why isn't my name yellow? What the fuck?
Oh yeah,
give me a role.
I'll do that next time. I don't want to mess with stuff right now because we're in the middle of recording. But all right, let's get back to Wernher von Braun. So we taught, that's a little bit of, you could look up, we have details on basically his entire life. And you could, people I'm sure have written books and books about the guy, but that's just like a real brief little snippet. I didn't want to spend too much time on him because it kind of goes off tangent a little bit on, if you want to talk about his career and accomplishments and stuff. But I did want to talk a little bit about the building of the V2 under Nazi Germany. I think we actually mentioned this in a previous episode, maybe on the MK Ultra episode, but more people were killed building V2 rockets than were killed as being hit by them as weapons. I don't know if that was a fun statistic that I learned, but the point is that he was involved in the production of these things, and people at those plants, we talked about, a specific case, but just in general, the workers there, they were all prisoners, they were slave labor essentially, and they were regularly beaten, hung, or died from illness, being malnourished or whatever. Like the conditions were just horrific.
I remember one of the famous stories that I heard about his factory, or whatever you want to call it, was that he would have a race every once in a while, and the slowest person would get executed, basically.
Yeah.
Like a race around the factory,
Yeah, and Werner von Braun denied it all. He basically said, like, no, I wasn't there. Didn't happen.
I did not align with the political beliefs.
No.
What's that? What's the saying from what Bart used to say? I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove anything.
I was just trying to build rockets.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I love rockets.
But yeah, but like
we said, evidence, you got evidence. If you don't, you don't. Huh?
Like we said, witnesses came out many years after, and probably during as well. But people came out and said, no, dude, that guy was there. He came to the factories all the time. He even ordered some of this stuff. Like I personally saw him giving the order, kind of a thing, because he was at the top of the chain of command. So when you're at the top of the chain of command, it always gives you plausible deniability, because you say, well, I wasn't there. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't tell him to do that. He just did it on his own. Yeah, like any of this happened randomly on its own, right? Somebody was given these orders. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't know. But there's good evidence to suggest that he was at least a part of what happened in these facilities that were building his rockets. So it's, we could go more into depth and that kind of stuff too, but I just wanted to, because he's the most famous one, I just wanted to establish that he was not a good guy at all. He was a Nazi, and he was very high up in the Nazi party. So, this is just...
I actually remember hearing an interview about some of the stuff that he said on his deathbed, basically, about how, like, his regrets, and like he had a bunch. Supposedly he had a bunch, from what I understand.
Yeah, I bet.
It's part of a documentary I remember watching like years ago, but yeah.
It's interesting to see a human's condition to be able to forget or to forgive. I don't know if it's, I would say forget more than forgive, of course, in this situation, but it's, I don't know. It's crazy because there's more things in our life that we have around us that have done more, not done more than, some of the Nazis, but, have been, at the hand of other atrocities in itself. And they're a part of our culture, basically.
Yeah. And it's, Sorry, like I was kind of ranting earlier, but, why did we have to take these guys, give them high paying jobs, the awesome jobs, give them awards and stuff? Why couldn't we just put them in prison somewhere, lock and key, and not let them out so that the Russians couldn't get their hands on them? Right. I mean, why did we have to, I don't know. The whole thing.
Would it be war propaganda? Would it be like a sign to, hey guys, this should be a message to all you other assholes that are out there that are doing things that you shouldn't. But if you do it for us, we'll look the other way. And it's kind of like, I don't want to speak for, other people, but hell, if I was in charge, that's you're gonna play dirty. Well, I mean, you're getting dirty right there. You're headhunting all the best. Like your best villains to keep them closer, kind of type deal.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't agree with it, but it's
well. And the thing is like I can understand if you put yourself in the historical place of the leadership back then. They don't know exactly what the capabilities are that the Soviets have. They know the Soviets are working on things like nuclear weapons, and they did develop them at some point, obviously. but we don't know what their technology is like. So we're probably scared shitless of them getting far enough ahead of us so that they can just take us over without much effort. And, back then they were developing things like the nuclear weapon and things that were out of science fiction novels, like new jet airplanes and stuff that had just a few years or even months previously, it was just the figment of somebody's imagination. And now we have fiction coming to life in front of our very eyes. So I could see them just basically freaking out all the time and being super paranoid about, oh my God, what have the Russians developed this week? Are they going to come and get us? Is this going to be the week where we lose? So I guess from that context, maybe it makes a little more sense that we would try to get all the knowledge possible from these people, but I still don't have to like it,
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, but that is what separates us from some of the other. I mean, I don't know. Like, instead of a bullet to the head, we try to seek out justice in due court. I mean, I don't know. It's fucking weird. It's a wacky topic, that's for sure.
Yeah,
by the way, I just want to correct the Russians. The Russians, being as crafty as they are, they threw a probe into Venus and snapped a picture of the surface of Venus, which is what I was trying to show you guys. That's what I posted in Discord amongst Arnold Schwarzenegger flexing.
All right, sweet.
Oh yeah.
I think when I first found that out, I was just kind of, my jaw kind of dropped. I was like, what the hell? Those crafty motherfuckers, sneaky son of bitches.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had on Operation Paperclip. How about you guys?
Yeah. I don't know.
I honestly, like, we could just keep going on it. I love this topic, and but I also recommended that show that I wanted you guys to peek out, that Hunters on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Not trying to promote the show or anything like that, but it is like a dramatic version of the events that we've described here on Operation Paperclip. So,
are you doing advertising on the DL? Because I'll break your thumbs, dude.
No, sir.
No, it's kidding.
Jeff Bezos, get out of my room. I'm talking to my best friends.
All right. Well, I guess that about wraps it up for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. You can follow the show on Twitter at AlienConPod. We also have an email address, alienconpod@protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed the show, you could really help us out by giving us a good review wherever you listen to podcasts and suggesting the show to your friends.